Okay, so in the math subject GRE, the name of the game outside of just knowing the answer to each question off the top of your head is making an informed guess. And what that means is you are able to rule out some options as incorrect, and you're just randomly picking from a remaining list of 2, 3, or maybe 4, right? And so that maximizes your odds of getting the right question if you have to pick at random. The thing about the math subject GRE is that there is a particular type of question with a structure that you can exploit so that you don't necessarily have to spend so much time thinking about the particular question, and you can move on to something that might be easier, that might be easy points, or something that requires more time. Anyway, the point is that you want to spend as few minutes on a given question as possible. And so just as an example here, right, we have this question about the ring of integers mod 17 and then this group of units, and it's asking about the set of generators, namely what's included in the set of generators, and is asking about this, right? And so if you'll notice, if you can show that 2 of these elements are generators, then that automatically gives you E, right? And so 1 and 2 implies E. And obviously it's not going to be the same for every type of question, but the point is to kind of get acclimated and to read the options before, so you can think, okay, I just need to check these because that means that I have to spend minimum amount of time on this question to really maximize my chances. So maybe let's look at another example. Okay, and something else that should be said about these questions is that this option for checking everything is going to be, is almost always going to be there, right? And so maybe it does come down that you have to check everything, but you know, don't necessarily go to thinking that quite yet, right? Particularly in this one, right? If 1 is false, right? If you have not 1, that implies that not B, and not C, not E, right? And so if you want to maximize your chances, well, not necessarily, because 1 could also be true, right? But if 1 is false, then you can cross out B, C, and E, right? And then, if 1 is false, then it's an option between none or D, right? And then if you just have to check if either 2 or 3 is in fact a multiplication table, because if you know that 2 is, right, then it's obviously not none, and then you don't have to spend time on 3, right? And this is just hypothetical. I'm not saying that 1 here is not a multiplication table. It's just a kind of example. And so maybe let's just look at another question to really just drive home this point. And then here, and this is kind of the importance of doing these questions kind of enough so that when you get there, you can already kind of have an instinct of which statements to test for their truth value. Okay, so in this question 23, we notice that if, let's see, if 1 is true and 3 is true, then that implies that 2 is true, right? So 1 and 3 imply 2 and then this whole thing implies E. Right, and so it's about thinking, okay, if I need to think about these propositions, right? Obviously, if you can just look at one of these statements and you just immediately know the truth value just off the top of your head by instinct, then that's the most helpful, right? You want to be going into the math subject test with maximum information, but just because of how hard and kind of random this test is, you aren't necessarily going to have that. And so this is an important test-taking strategy to really familiarize yourself with, is exploiting the structure of the options in these kind of questions. And that's really all I have to say for this.